Hello again. I want to revisit knife crime once again because it's obviously not going anywhere anytime soon. And to be honest, it kind of scares me a little bit. Not that I'm likely to be a victim of knife crime in London, being here in Scotland. That said, I do kind of want to visit London, and the idea of getting stabbed kind of it's a bit off-putting, if you know what I mean. I hear being stabbed is a bit uncomfortable. But as a collector and as a user of knives, it actually worries me a lot because, as you already know, there's continuous, uh, knife bans are continuously changing the knife law to make it harder and harder to buy certain knives, to carry knives. Just knives in general are kind of getting really difficult to get a hold of. In fact, a lot of the time when I see a knife for sale in certain places, I'm actually quite surprised. One thing I'd like to say though is I think is actually not as bad as you might think. Now, please note, this is just an opinion of mine and it's just an observation. Uh, it seems to be the case that with knife crime, a lot of the knives being used in knife crime, well, for a start, it's mostly gang members stabbing other gang members with kitchen knives and cheap machetes. Now, there's been numerous attempts to modify knives to make them less dangerous, which seems silly. For example, they've tried to bring out knives that don't have a point, like they've got a rounded tip so you can't penetrate anything with it. There are numerous companies that's coming out with knife serial numbers and different ways to, I don't know, trace the knife back to whoever bought it. One politician suggested putting a GPS tracker in every single brand new, newly manufactured knife. Silly things like that, and not to forget the Offensive Weapons Act, which is actually passed 6 months ago, went from a bill to an act, etc., etc. So we've actually got some pretty hard knife laws. It's not a deterrent though. There's still people out there stabbing other people with kitchen knives, machetes, all sorts of knives, and I'm in no way at all shitting on machetes. I mean, I've got a couple in my collection because I'm a knife collector, and I also like to do a little bit of camping. I've took a machete camping 2 or 3 times now. Guess what? Nobody died. I just had a good day, or a good weekend with my friends. Out in the woods in a tent. Used a machete when needed to be used. No one got hurt, etc., etc. Uh, I'm not going to lie. It does seem to be a favourite choice of weapon for gangs. But you know what else seems to be a favourite choice of weapon for gangs? Handguns. When were those banned? Yeah, 1996. The government banned handguns after the Dunblane massacre in 96. Yet people are still smuggling them in. People are still being shot. Now, one thing I really do want to point out that I see absolutely no one talking about is I think knife crime is inflated. What I mean by that is people are being arrested when otherwise they've committed no crime. Their crime is simply having the knife. Well, Scotsman, if you've got a knife in your pocket, you should probably be arrested. Probably not actually, because a lot of people, including myself, like to carry a little pen knife, like a Swiss Army knife or something like that. Something that is usually legal to carry in most places such as this. Now there are exceptions. You should not take this into a school or a pub, a club, a sporting event or anything like that. Now that's not necessarily to say that it's illegal, but you could find yourself in some trouble. Personally, under such situations, even I'm going to leave it at home and I don't go anywhere without a penknife. Now, that's on the legal side. Let's talk about Leathermans for a second and other multi-tools. What's that got to do with knife crime? A lot of you know what this is. This is a Leatherman Surge. This is probably one of, if not the, most popular, most famous multi-tool in the world. This and the Leatherman Wave kind of go hand in hand. You ask someone what's the best multi-tool in the world, they're either going to say the Leatherman Wave or Leatherman Surge. A lot of people own a Leatherman Wave or a Leatherman Surge, and for good reason, because they're absolutely fantastic multi-tools, and I think everyone should have one. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're a tradesman, if it's for going out walking, for camping, DIY around the house, anything. In my opinion, you should have a Leatherman, preferably a wave or a surge or a charge or something like that. I have both a surge and a wave, and I do intend on getting a charge. What's the point though? Why am I going on about this? Why does it matter how popular this multi-tool is? Quite simple, it's a multi-tool. It's multifunctional. Now, a Swiss Army knife is also multifunctional, but a lot of people would prefer to carry a Leatherman because they're a lot tougher than a Swiss Army knife. And by the way, I'm a Swiss Army knife fanboy. I'm absolutely crazy over Victorinox. But Leathermans are just built a lot tougher. That's the point. I mean, these are very, very, very heavy duty multi-tools, and that's why people like to carry them. And they've got an excellent set of pliers. They've also got the bit exchanger, etc. There's just so many reasons why you would rather carry a Leatherman over a Swiss Army knife. And trust me, a Swiss Army knife is my number one choice. Now, the point of this being, the point of this video, that little click, that's the important thing here. That's a lock. This multi-tool has a liner lock. What's that got to do with anything, you might ask? Well, the UK law states that it is illegal to carry a knife in the UK without a good reason unless it is a folding knife with a cutting edge of less than 3 inches and is non-locking. Leatherman wave is under 3 inches. Leatherman surge is just a little bit over. That's not the main problem. That's the main problem right there. It has a lock. Under UK law, this is classed as a lock knife, which, funny enough, is classed as a non-folding knife, which is silly. So it's kind of in the same camp as a lock knife and a kitchen knife and a combat knife and a machete. It's kind of silly. Now, yes, it's multifunctional, and that's the point. But that's seen the same as something like this, a lock knife. Under the eyes of the UK law, they don't really discriminate between the two. So why is that a problem? Again, why am I going on about this? You've got a lot of people carrying Leathermans in their pocket on their day-to-day lives. A lot of people won't go out without a Leatherman. And I'm one of them. Now, I don't carry this one for that reason. You can get 4 years in prison, theoretically, for having this in your pocket. And that's my issue here. So the point of this video is to say, I think the stats on knife crime might be a little bit inflated, because if you've got someone like me, or a joiner or a builder who's not currently working, or anything like that, just someone that wants a heavy duty, high quality multi-tool in their pocket, they'll take something like this. And the police may stop them. Now, some police might be reasonable and let them off with it, which that's what I think they should do. You should not be arrested for having this in your pocket. Others will absolutely throw the book at you. Sometimes, even if you do have a reason, the police will still arrest you for having something like this in your pocket. Can you see what I'm getting at here? Add the fact that this is one of the most popular and used and well-known multi-tools in the world, considering how many people have these, and now you might see the bigger picture. Hell, even police carry these at times. I don't know how many times I've been watching the news and I've seen a policeman with one of these on his belt, either that or a Gerber. Especially armed police. You see what I'm getting at here? It seems a bit unreasonable for arresting someone with something like this in their pocket. Now, there are times where you probably should be arrested for carrying a knife. If you've got a kitchen knife up your sleeve and you're away up the town, yeah, that's probably a problem. Or if you're walking through a crowded, busy street with a machete, don't get me wrong, I'd be a bit concerned about that too. Now, is there legitimate reasons to be carrying a machete? Absolutely. If you're going camping, if you're going bushcrafting, if you work in the forest, I can't really get this in the picture, but oh well, I'll have to do. If you're working in the forest, doing things like that, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't bring it. Because at the end of the day, like these other items, a machete is a tool. That buck knife is a tool. That Leatherman is a tool. This Swiss Army knife is absolutely a tool. These items here are all tools, and I feel like people are being wrongly arrested when having these on them at certain times. Now, like I said, you probably shouldn't go walking down the street with a machete down your trousers. That's obviously an issue, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen that image of those teenagers with a machete. Was it near a cinema somewhere in London? Absolutely, take that machete off them, put them away in jail, charge them with carrying an offensive weapon. That's when that sort of law should be applied. But when you've got someone like this, is someone carrying something like this, unless they're being threatening, unless they're waving it around the place, what is the issue? Even something like this, if that's in, I don't know, a 60-year-old man's pocket and he's minding his own business, what's the issue? What is the issue? I mean, I've even heard of people being arrested for having a Swiss Army knife in their pocket. I think this country has a bit too much of a fear of knives. Now, I did mention that a lot of this knife crime is committed by, gangs with machetes and zombie knives, which by the way are already banned, and kitchen knives, Stanley knives. It's already illegal to carry these things. Some of them are illegal to own, like zombie knives and flick knives. So I don't think any further bans are going to help. And as for stop and search, by the way, I like to put it out there right now, I'm 100% against stop and search. It is an infringement on your privacy. It's none of their business what's in your pocket. So long as you're causing no harm to anyone and you're just going about your day and you're not threatening anyone, you're not talking about stabbing people, what's the problem with having something like this in your pocket? Even more so, if you're out in the woods, if you're up in the Scottish Highlands, if you're on a job site, what's the problem? Absolutely none. I've even heard of people being arrested for having one of these stored in the glove compartment, the glove box compartment in their car. Could you imagine that? Policeman stops you, searches your car, finds that in your glove box. What you got that for? Well, what do you think I've got that for? It's a multi-tool. Do you really think someone's keeping that in their glove box in their car to stab someone with a Leatherman? Bottom dollar for one of these is at least £100. Now you might be able to find it a bit cheaper if you're lucky. That's how much I paid for this. These often go for £150. Do you think someone's really going to spend that sort of money on a Leatherman to stab someone? Of course not. They're going to go to the pound shop, they're going to steal a kitchen knife from there, they're going to steal a kitchen knife from their mum's drawer, or if they can acquire it, they're going to use a machete. Or they're just going to use a live firearm. It happens. Now, in my view, our self-defence laws really don't help because we've got next to no right to have anything for self-defence. Now, you can use items in the heat of the moment for self-defence, but you can't carry anything at all for self-defence. Bearing in mind that pepper spray is completely illegal under Section 5 of the Firearms Act in Britain. You're not even allowed it at home. Hell, you're not even allowed to have a baseball bat beside the bed for self-defence in Britain. In theory, that can also get you in trouble, having a baseball bat in your own home for self-defence. And my God, don't even get me started on weapon sweeps. When they go into someone's house, they find weapons, blah blah blah. Does it really matter if someone's got something like this in their house? I don't care what they're up to. It's what they do with the item that's the problem. If you've just got it in your possession, whether it's at home, in a drawer, in a shed, in a toolbox, out in your in your pocket while you're going about your day, what's the issue so long as you're not being threatening with it? Anyway, I've went on enough. Let me hear your thoughts in the comments down below if you've made it this far. Cheers, I'll see you later.